Early in the first millennium BC, the Dorian people of northern Greece conquered what remained of the crumbling Mycenaean civilization and settled in the southern Greek region of Laconia, where they founded the legendary city-state of Sparta. A semi-mythical Spartan leader named Lycurgus is credited with creating Sparta's constitution and its highly totalitarian social structure. Lycurgus's reforms led Sparta to become one of the most dominant military forces in the ancient world, establishing his legacy as the lawgiver of Sparta. The semi-mythical status of Lycurgus makes it difficult to verify exactly if and when he lived, but scholars generally point to the early 8th century BC, just as the Greek Dark Ages were ending. This was a time when the kingdom of Sparta was enduring rampant lawlessness and social chaos. The kingdom was ruled by two hereditary kings who shared power equally. Lycurgus was the younger brother of one of the two kings at the time, a man named Polydectes. King Polydectes had no male heir, and in the wake of his sudden death early in his reign, Lycurgus was presumed heir to the throne. It was soon discovered that Polydectes' wife was pregnant, calling the line of succession into question. Lycurgus nobly proclaimed that if male, the infant would be the rightful heir to the throne and that he would act as regent until the boy came of age. The child was born male and was named Charalaeus. Lycurgus proved true to his word and assumed the role of temporary co-ruler. His regency quickly soured after the king's mother and several noblemen spread rumors that Lycurgus was plotting to murder the boy king and permanently seize power for himself. Choosing to avoid any controversy, Lycurgus decided to leave Sparta and travel alone until the boy king grew older and produced an heir of his own. His travels took him to Crete, Egypt, Lydia, and India, where he carefully studied the local laws and customs. The knowledge he gained abroad went on to influence the eventual creation of the Spartan constitution. For instance, Lycurgus admired the Egyptian practice of separating soldiers from other social classes and would go on to implement the same custom in the Spartan constitution. Plutarch states that Lycurgus joined King Iphitos of Elis in commencing the first Olympic Games in 776 BC. The Olympic Games continued every 4 years thereafter, until the Roman Emperor Theodosius I banned the pagan games in 393 AD in an effort to promote Christianity. After many years away, Lycurgus began receiving petitions that begged for his return to Sparta, where great unrest had arisen in his absence. Lycurgus agreed to return, but first visited the Oracle of Delphi, who told him that his prayers had been heard and that the state which observed the laws of Lycurgus would become the most famous in the world. After receiving such a praising endorsement from one of the most respected figures in ancient Greece, Lycurgus went to each of Sparta's leaders to enlist their support. King Charalaeus, who was now an adult, readily agreed to the reforms after quickly realizing that Lycurgus held no interest in usurping his throne. Lycurgus forbade a written constitution, preferring instead that all Spartan citizens memorize the laws and refer to them as the Great Retra. Absolute equality was central to Lycurgus's laws, so he abolished all personal wealth and divided Spartan land equally among its citizens. He desired to eliminate Sparta's reliance on foreign trade, so he banned the use of precious metals such as gold, silver, and bronze as currency and insisted on using iron instead. His reasoning was that foreign cities such as Athens, Argos, and Corinth would be uninterested in trading. They did not own any of these precious metals, forcing Sparta to become completely self-sufficient. The new constitution kept the ancient custom of rule by two kings, but added a council of elders called the Gerousia, which was made up of 28 elder aristocrats, each at least 60 years of age. In an effort to limit the power of the two kings, Lycurgus established a second council made up of 5 senior magistrates called ephors, who held power equal to that of the kings. The 5 ephors were elected annually by the popular assembly. These were the only political offices that were open to all Spartan citizens. Lycurgus's greatest innovation as a lawmaker was in his reform of Spartan society itself. He established the social class of elite soldiers, known as Spartiates, who made up the core of the Spartan army. They were Spartan citizens who held the right to vote in elections, but were forbidden from ever leaving Sparta without being given direct orders to do so. The second class of people in Spartan society, known as the Pyrrhikoi, consisted of craftsmen and merchants. They could not vote or become Spartan citizens, but were allowed to travel in and out of Sparta without restriction. At the bottom of Spartan society were state-owned serfs, known as helots. They were predominantly used for manual labor and habitually mistreated, humiliated, and even hunted for sport by Spartans. A Spartan secret police called the Crypteia recruited the brightest and most promising young Spartan men for special missions in which they ambushed and brutally murdered unsuspecting helots. The Crypteia's primary purpose was to prevent potential uprisings by finding and assassinating the most outspoken helots. Plutarch called the Crypteia an injustice and struggled with the idea that Lycurgus, a Spartan commander whom he greatly admired, had created such a barbaric organization. Most other Greek cities felt pity for Spartan slaves, including Athens, where they had the saying, "In Sparta, the free man is more a free man than anywhere else in the world, but the slave more a slave." Lycurgus also introduced a rigorous state-sponsored education referred to as the agoge for Spartans aged 7 to 30. Bullying and fighting was encouraged among Spartan boys to ensure resilience on the battlefield. They were also regularly underfed to encourage stealing, but would be severely beaten and shamed if discovered. Plutarch wrote, "So seriously did Spartan children go about their stealing that a boy, having stolen a young fox and hid it under his cloak, let it tear out his guts with its teeth and claws and died right there, rather than be discovered as a thief." The agoge focused on a broad range of topics such as military tactics, hunting, wrestling, public speaking, writing, singing, and even dancing. After graduating the agoge at 30 years old, Spartans were allowed to live with their wives and begin families. Lycurgus introduced the custom of all Spartan men eating their meals together in mess halls called the Syssitia. This was done to develop a sense of equality and kinship among Spartan soldiers during peacetime. Spartan mess halls would serve bland and insufficient portions to encourage slim, athletic physiques. Overweight Spartans were often publicly ridiculed and even banished from society. Lycurgus believed that only physically fit women can bear children strong enough to become capable Spartan warriors. Any newborns deemed to be unhealthy were thrown into a chasm at the foot of Mount Taygetus, according to Plutarch. Spartan women enjoyed many more rights and freedoms compared to their Greek counterparts, partly because helots performed many of the domestic duties ordinarily expected of wives. Spartan women were highly educated and participated in a variety of sports such as javelin, discus, and horseback riding. Spartan women were allowed by law to inherit and own land, which led them to amass so much wealth that they eventually owned 2/3 of Sparta's agricultural land. After finishing his many reforms, Lycurgus decided to leave Sparta and visit the Oracle of Delphi again. Before leaving, Lycurgus made everyone in the kingdom, including the kings, gather together and take binding oaths swearing to continue observing the new constitution until his return to Sparta. Upon once again visiting the oracle, and once again being told that his laws would make Sparta famous, Lycurgus decided to starve himself to death, thereby never returning to Sparta and forcing his people to keep their oaths indefinitely. In the centuries following his death, the Spartan state grew much more powerful, thanks to the militaristic system established by Lycurgus. Sparta would go on to participate in several epic battles during the Persian invasions of Greece and the Peloponnesian War several centuries later. Thereafter, Sparta became an even greater power within the Mediterranean world, dominating southern Greece and even invading Persian territory in Asia Minor. Through unparalleled wisdom and knowledge, Lycurgus forged the laws that made Sparta one of the most legendary civilizations in the ancient world. consider liking, commenting, subscribing, and clicking the bell icon below for more videos like this.